Hello friends, in this lecture we will learn about Gupta Empire. Gupta Empire, they ruled from 240 AD to 550 AD. The founder was Sri Gupta. He ruled from 240 AD to 280 AD with capital at Prayag as described by Purans. The Gupta ruler were follower of Hindu religion and the language during the Gupta time was Sanskrit for upper Varna and rulers, and Prakrit was for lower Varna. Even in drama written at that time, we find Sanskrit was used for upper Varna, and Prakrit was used for lower Varna people in drama. Gupta age is Gupta age is also known as Golden Age of India. It is because of lot of art and culture development and scientific development that happened, which happened during the Gupta time period. A book named Dharmsastra was poetry work based on Dharm Sutra, and this book defines title based on Varna. Sarman for Brahman, Varman for Kshatri, Gupta or no title for Vaishya, and Das for Sudra. So many historians concluded that Gupta were Vaishya origin based on this book. Chinese traveler Ai Sing of 7th century AD mentioned that Sri Gupta built a Buddhist temple 40 yojans east of Nalanda, probably in Bengal region. Sri Gupta was succeeded by his son Ghatotkacha. Allahabad pillar inscription issued by King Samudragupta uses Maharaja titles with Sri Gupta and Ghatotkacha. And for Chandragupta, we found title Maharaja Dhiraj in Allahabad pillar inscription. So based on title in Allahabad pillar inscription, some historian concluded that Sri Gupta and Ghatotkacha were probably vassal of the Kusan Empire because at that time some vassal used to use the title Maharaja. Sri Gupta and Ghatotkacha ruled the modern-day territory of UP and Bihar. Chandragupta I, he was the next ruler after Ghatotkacha. He was the first important ruler of Gupta dynasty. He succeeded his father Ghatotkacha and ruled over modern-day territory of UP, Bihar and some portions of Bengal. He married a Lichwi princess, Kumar Devi, and many coins were issued with the combined image of Kumar Devi and Chandragupta. You can see in the image on the left hand side the Queen Kumar Devi is shown, and on the right hand side King Chandragupta was shown. So, regarding the um, issue of coin, there is debate among historians. Some says the coin was issued on the marriage occasion of King Chandragupta. Some says it was issued by Lichwi kingdom uh, uh, to celebrate Princess Kumar Devi as queen of Gupta Empire. Some says it was issued by Samudragupta to show respect for their parents. Chandragupta I started Gupta era in 319 AD. The two important Buddhist scholars, Asang and Vasubandhu, they were contemporary of Chandragupta I and they were cousin. They were proponents of Yogacara and Abhidhamma. Yogacara is part of Mahayana Buddhism, and it was philosophy of meditation. The Asang and Vasubandhu used to live in the modern day uh, region of Peshawar area, Pakistan. Vasubandhu was author of Abhidharma Moksha. Here is the territorial map of Gupta Empire. So in that map you can see Chandragupta I ruled the territory roughly UP, Bihar and some portion of Bengal. Then after Chandragupta, Samudragupta succeeded. Samudragupta ruled from western India to eastern India, and he also captured southern India territory, including Kanchi, which was the capital of Pallava dynasty. After Samudgupta, Chandragupta II uh, came in power, and Chandragupta II defeated the Saka ruler or Western Satrap ruler and captured the Saurashtra region from Sakas with the help of Vakataka. Samudragupta. He succeeded his father Chandragupta I, and he was proficient in music and poetry. Uh, because he was proficient in poetry, he was also regarded as Kavi Raj. And we found a lot of coin with image of King Samudragupta playing Veena. Court poet Hari Sen wrote Allahabad Prasasti in Sanskrit language Brahmi script on Ashokan pillar. On Ashokan pillar, we find inscription of three rulers: Ashoka, Samudragupta, and Jahangir. Allahabad Prasasti. The Allahabad Prasasti describes Samudragupta defeated nine northern kings, 12 southern kings, and he also made Atav, Atvika rulers as their vassal. Atvika was the kingdom, forest kingdom. So Samudragupta also defeated ruler of forest kingdom, and that kingdom was known as Atavika. Samudragupta also received tributes from Davaka and Kamrupa kingdom of Assam. Contact of eastern region with Gupta Empire led to the development or urbanization of western region in Bengal and Assam region. Veer Sena was the commander-in-chief when Samudragupta led the southern India campaign. Uh, The Samudragupta led a military conquest up to Kanchi in south, and Pallava was compelled to recognize the suzerainty of Gupta Empire. And after the weakening of Pallava Empire, there was rise of Western Ganga dynasty in southern Karnataka region. Meghvarman, king of Sri Lanka, sent a missionary to Samudragupta for building a Buddhist temple at Gaya. Because of undefeated campaigns, Samudragupta was mentioned as Napoleon of India by V. A. Smith. Aaron inscription of Samudragupta also describes the campaigns of King Samudragupta. Uh, Aaron was name of a place, so we find lot of inscription at Aaron. Some was issued by Samudragupta, some was Bhanugupta, and some other rulers. Um, Samudragupta issued coin with title Aprathirtha means invincible, and Vyagra Prakharam, brave as tiger, Prakharam, brave. Next ruler was Chandragupta II or Chandragupta Vikramaditya. He ruled from 376 AD to 415 AD, and he tried to set up marriage alliance. And to set up a marriage alliance, he sent Kalidas to the court of Kadamba ruler. He married his daughter Prabhavati to Vakataka ruler Rudra Singh II. Rudra Singh II was Vakataka ruler of Parvarpura Nandivardhana branch. After the death of Rudra Singh II, he exercised indirect control of Vakataka kingdom through his daughter Prabhavati. And with the help of Vakataka, uh, S- Chandragupta II defeated the Saka ruler, Western Satrap, and annexed Western Malwa and Gujarat region. After defeating the Saka ruler, he took the title of Vikramaditya and Sakri, killer of Saka. And after annexing western Malwa region, he set up his second capital at Ujjain. The military conquest of King Chandra were glorified in the Iron Pillar at Qutub Minar complex. Uh, the Iron Pillar was originally uh, located at different place, and in the Iron Pillar we found inscription related to Lord Vishnu. So some historians conclude that originally the iron pillar was at Udayagiri cave, where we found the Lord Vishnu statue in Varaha avatar. Paiyan visited the Gupta Empire during the reign of Chandragupta Vikramaditya. He came to India via Afghanistan and he traveled roughly along Ganga River and left India from Bengal region. He lived India in for 9 years. Um, he did not visit South India and Assam region, Kamrupa kingdom, but later Buddhist monk Huen Sang. He came to Huen Sang came during Harshvardhana time period, and he visited South India and Kamrupa district also. But Paiyan he roughly visited cities along Ganga rivers. The visited city by Paiwan are Tachsila, Odiyan, Mathura, Kannauj, Varanasi, Kushinagar, Kapilvastu, Shravasti, Bodh Gaya and Patliputra. He left India via sea route. From Bengal, he went to Sri Lanka, from Sri Lanka to Indonesia, and from Indonesia to China. He learned Sanskrit in India and returned to China with large number of Sanskrit texts. In China, he translated Sanskrit text in Chinese language. He described Mahayana, Hinayan, and Theravada Buddhism in his writing. The travelogue of Paiyan is known as Fogu Oji, a record of Buddhist kingdoms. Chandragupta II was first ruler to issue silver coins after the conquest of Gujarat or after defeating the Saka rulers. Earlier Gupta ruler issued mainly gold coin. Udayagiri cave at Betwa River MP. It was developed under the patronage of Chandragupta II and Kumargupta, and only cave structure developed under the patronage of Gupta ruler. It was the it was probably the only cave structure developed under the patronage of Gupta dynasty. And in Udayguri cave we find 20 caves, 19 Jain caves and one Hindu cave. And the Hindu cave is cave number 5, and at cave number 5 we found Varha statue of Lord Vishnu. The inscription used on the Udaygiri cave was Brahmi and Sansklipi script. Sanskrit language in Brahmi and Sansklipi script. Sansklipi script is used for writing name and signature, only a small portion. And Sansklipi script is undeciphered till now because it was used for signature. So you can compare with present time where people used to sign in very fascinating manner. So with the looking at signature of someone, sometimes you can't say what was he had written. So the same thing applied at that time. Sanklipi was used for writing signatures on or name. So it was decorative writing style. So still undeciphered. The nine code gems of Chandragupta Vikramaditya. A book named Jyotirvid A book named Jyotirvid Bharna describes nine gems of Vikramaditya at Ujjain court. And probably it was fake record because all these scholars lived in different time period. But still, let's have a look on nine gems of Chandragupta Maurya. First one is Amar Simha. He was poet and Sanskrit lexicographer. He wrote a book named Amar Kosa. It was Sanskrit lexicograph. Then second one is Dhanvantri. Dhanvantri was physician. Then Kalidas. Kalidas was poet and playwright. He wrote the three most important drama of Kalidas are Abhigyan Sakuntalam, Vikram Urvasi, and Malvik Agnimitram. All three is love story based, and in Malvik Agnimitram, it was related to Sunga dynasty. It is love story of Malvika and Agnimitra. Agnimitra was son of Pushyamitra Sung. Kalidas also wrote poems that is Kumar Sambhav, Raghuvansam, Meghdut, and Ritu Samhara. In Kumar Sambhu, he describes the birth of Lord Kartikeya, son of Lord Shiva and Mata Parvati. In Raghuvansam, he describes Raghuvanshi dynasty. In Meghdut, he describes sending message with the help of cloud. And in Ritu Samhara, he describes um, love emotions during the sixth season. Different type of love emotion in different season, mainly sixth season. Then fourth one is Kaha Pan Ka. Then fifth one is Sanku. Sanku was architect. He wrote a book Silp Sastra. Then Varhamihir. Varhamihir was astronomer. He wrote Panch Siddhant, five doctrines of astronomy, Brihad Samhita and Brihad Jatka. Brihad Jatka was astrology. The difference between astronomy and astrology is that astronomy is scientific aspect of planet movement, but astrology is connecting the planet movement with people's faith, with people's future. So astronomy astronomy is scientific aspect, but astrology is related to faith. Then Varharuchi was Sanskrit scholar. A book named Prakrit Prakasa. It is Prakrit grammar book. Uh, it was who was the author? It was doubtful, but many historians uh, associate Prakrit Prakasa book with Varharuchi. Then Vetala Bhatta was ritual performer or magician. He wrote Manth Shastra. He used to perform ritual for king. Then ninth gem was Ghat Karpa. He used to make sculpture. Another writer, Visakha Datta, he did not live in Chandragupta Vikramaditya during the time of Chandragupta Vikramaditya, but he wrote two books. One is Mudra Rakshas. Mudra Rakshas is related to Chandragupta Maurya. How the Chandragupta Maurya overthrown the Nanda Empire and stabilized Mauryan Empire in Magh. And the second book was Devi Chandraguptam. Devi Chandraguptam is related to Chandragupta II or Chandragupta Vikramaditya. In this book, he described how the Chandragupta Vikramaditya killed Saka ruler Rudrasimha III and saved Queen Dhruva Devi. Queen Dhruva Devi was wife of Ramagupta. Ramagupta was elder brother of Chandragupta II. Um, Sak, Saka captured the queen Durva Devi from Ramgupta, and Ramgupta was unable to save his wife Durva Devi. So Chandragupta decided to save Queen Durva Devi, and he killed the Saka ruler Rudrasimha III and saved Queen Durva Devi. And after saving the Dhruva Devi says she does not have any respect for Ramgupta. Uh, so Dhruva Devi decided to leave Ramgut, and he he asked Chandragupta to marry. So Dhruva Devi and Vikramaditya get married, and after that a fight happened between Ramgupta and Vikramaditya, and of course King Vikramaditya win, and he ruled the Gupta Empire after that. Kumaragupta. Kumaragupta ruled from 415 AD to 455 AD. He founded Nalanda University at Bihar in 427 AD. Um, it was during the Kumaragupta reign first Hun attack happened in India, and it was successfully repelled by his son Iskandgupta. Of course, the king was Kumaragupta, but the attack was defended by his son Iskandgupta. A temple was found in Bilsar village, Etah district UP with Sanklipi. As I said earlier, Sanklipi is undeciphered and it is majorly used for name and signature. Mandsaur inscription of Kumargupta. Mandsaur is a name of place, and this place is also known as Daspur. So we found a lot of inscription at Mandsaur. So one inscription is of Kumargupta. So Mandsaur inscription of Kumargupta was written by Vatsa Bhatta. Vatsa Bhatta wrote about Kumargupta in Mandsaur stone inscription. In Mandsaur stone inscription, probably on some other stone inscription at Mandsaur, we found mention of migration of silk weaver from Gujarat to Daspur. Next ruler was Iskandgupta. Uh, Multiple Hun invasion happened during the reign of Iskandgupta, and he successfully repelled all these invasion was successfully repelled by Iskandgupta. But regular fight put a heavy strain on the economic resource of Gupta Empire. Skandagupta repaired Sudarshan Lake at Junagadh. So at Junagadh, it was described in Junagadh inscription. At Junagadh, on a single rock, we find inscription of three rulers. That is Asoka, Rudradaman, and then Skandagupta. Bithari pillar inscription at Gazipur, UP. In this inscription, a fight between Skandagupta on one side and Hun and Pushyamitra on other side is described. And this Pushyamitra is tribal ruler of central India. So Bithari pillar inscription is related to Iskangupt and it describes the fight of Iskangupt with Huns and Pushyamitra, tribal ruler of central India. And after that, later Gupta ruler was not efficient or not good, but one ruler Bhangupt was important because he issued a Aaron pillar inscription, and at Aaron pillar inscription we found the practice of sati. The Aaron pillar inscription describes sati practice, and it was the first inscription evidence of sati. As per the inscription in Nobel, Gopa Raja with his king Bhanugut fought against Matraka of Gujarat. And after the death of Gopa Raja's wife committed sati. So this was the first inscriptional evidence of sati in India. Matraka kingdom was founded by a Gupta Senapati named Bhatrak. He founded the Matraka kingdom by declaring independence from Gupta Empire in 475 AD. Aaron Bohr inscription. At Aaron, we found another inscription that is on the statue of Bohr. So it was named as Aaron Bohr inscription. It was issued by Huns king Toramara, and it is dated around 510 AD. We we found a lot of inscription at Aaron and Mansour, and most of the inscription are on red sandstone. So, if in objective question, if they give an statement that Aaron inscription is written on red sandstone, whether it was issued by Kumarasu or Mansour inscription is issued by Kumarasu is on red sandstone or Mansour pillar inscription of Yasodharman is on red sandstone, then both statement will be correct. Vishnugupta was last Gupta ruler. He ruled around he after he was the last Gupta ruler, and in 550 AD the Gupta dynasty came to an end. Administration in Gupta Empire. The territory under the Gupta Empire can be divided into two types. One is feudatory territory and another one is core territory. And unlike the Mauryan Empire, which was more centralized, the Gupta administration was decentralized. And we found even some instances where lo- uh, local administrative posts become hereditary in Gupta Empire. The division of the division during Gupta administration was province. Province was known as Bhukti, administered by Uparika. Then Visay was headed by Visapati. Then village or Grama was headed by Gramika. Gramika was selected by local peoples. During the Gupta time, king took lot of titles, different titles like Parmeswara and other titles. But there are a few titles which are associated with particular king. So here is the list of king and corresponding title. With Sri Gupta, we found title of Adiraj and Maharaj. Adiraj because he was the first Gupta ruler. To, to he was the founder of Gupta dynasty. Then Ghatotkaч Ghatotkaч has got title of Maharaja. Then Chandragupta I. Chandragupta I is associated with Maharaja Dhiraj title. Then Samudgupta. Samudgupta was also known as Dharma Pracharak Bandhu. He did a lot of work for the development of Dharma. He took the title of uh, Paral Ramank, Apartiratna, Kaviraja, Apartivar, Apartivavira, सर्वोराज उच्चेता then व्याघ्र व्याघ्र प्रखार मंका then Chandragupta he took title of Vikramaditya Sakri Devgupt Devraja Devarsi Vikramanka. Then Kumargupt is associated with Mahendraditya Parakramam and Vyagrabala. Then Iskandgupt is associated with Vikramaditya and Sakrupana. Uh, Kumargupt and Ayukt are two important posts of administration, and these these acted as a link between central and provincial administration. Other important posts were Sandhi Vigra. Sandhi Vigra was Minister of War and Peace. Mahabala Dikrita, he was Commander-in-Chief of Gupta Empire. Mahadandanaika and Dandanaika, they were officer of Justice Department. Pratham Kayast, he was head of scribes. Akshat Akash Patal Dikrita, he was account maintainer uh, related to tax and other account. Then Pushtpala was record keeper. What was account written by Akash Patal Dikrita? It was stored by Pushtpala. Kutumbus and Mahattaras, they were landlord. Narpati was head of infantry. Cavalry was the main army department. Cavalry dominated the chari- infantry, chariot, and elephant department. The most important department was cavalry, and it was headed by Asupati. In the Gupta time period, we found less use of chariot and elephant. The department of elephant was headed by Pilupati. So, Narpati for infantry, Asupati for cavalry, and Pilupati for elephant department. Several logbooks were compiled during the Gupta time period, and for the first time in the history of India, civil and criminal law were clearly demarcated. Guilds were used to govern by their own law. Payan describes there was less crime in the Gupta time period and the punishment was generally fine. In the Gupta time period, no land transaction can be done without the consent of local people. In the king, before granting a land to someone, the king cannot grant the land without consulting with local people. So, in South India, you will find lot of land grants by rulers to Buddhist monk and Brahman. But in North India, which is already developed and more urbanized, there was less land grant to Brahman or Buddhist. But still, there are some instances of land grant in Gupta age, and this gave rise to landlord system in post-Gupta time period. Uh, for buying or selling of the land, gold was used. Gold coins were known as this dinar, and they were used for land transaction. There are instances of few local administration posts becoming hereditary. Although the Kumar Ahmadte and Ayup post was not become hereditary, but still some local administration posts become hereditary. Gupta economy. Agriculture was the main occupation of common people. Tax was one-fourth to one-sixth of agriculture produce. Farmer were known as Krisibala or Karsaka. Land there was five Major type of land defined in Gupta time period. First one is Kshetra. Kshetra was cultivable land. Then Khila. Khila was wasteland. Then Aprahata. Aprahata was forest land. Then fourth one is Vasti. Vasti was habitable land. Then fifth was Gupta. Gapata Sara. It was pasture land. In During the Samudragupta time, there was fight between Samudragupta and Atvika kingdom. Atvika was forest kingdom, so Atvika was used for forest land which was ruled by other ruler. So it was forest kingdom. Atvika was forest kingdom, but for forest land within the Gupta boundary, it was the term used was Aprahata. Unit for land measurement was Nivartana. Nivartana was used for central and western India, and Kulewapa and Dronewapa. These measurement unit is used in eastern India, mainly in Bengal region. Vapa or Vap means to sow. Advapa is used to measure territory up to area up to half acre. Dronewapa up to 2 acre. Kulwapa up to 16 acre. In Gupta time period, tank were used for water water storage, and there are different naming Bapi, Tadaga, and Dirbuhula, and it was probably based on the size of tank. We also found mention of Argahatta and Gati Yantra, and these two instruments were used to mobilize water for irrigation. uh, Different type of tax in Gupta Empire. Bhog was one fourth to one sixth of agriculture produce. Then Raju was land measurement tax. Bedak Bhoga was irrigation tax. Then Udak Bhag was water tax. So you can see a lot of farmer or peasant have to pay a lot of tax. Then Char- Charasna is grazing tax, and Halivkara or Halidana, plugging tax. These two taxes also paid by farmers. Then we found Pratya was toll tax. Then Kalpita, Upkalpita, it was sales and purchase tax. Then Bhatta was police tax. Then Chat was security tax. Then Uparikar was tax collected from all subjects. Then Uparnik was tax collected from border area. Taradya was tax on navigation. Then Hiranya was tax collected in cash. Economy of Gupta Empire. So, uh, for administration of commerce, there was post Jesthaka. Jesthaka was commerce administrator. Then Kolika. Kolika. Pratham Kolika was chief of artisans, and then Sartha was head of guild of traders, and Nagar Srishti was head of guild of traders plus bankers. So Nagar Srishti was higher in authority than Sarthavaha. Payan describes Magad as full of cities and large donation offerings by rich people of Magad. At that time, Ujjain was also famous commerce center. Gold coin or dinar were issued on large scale, more than the coin issued during Kusan Empire. But the quality of the coin was low in comparison to Kusan coins. Most coins and inscription of Gupta time period were found in UP and Bihar region. Silver coins were issued by Vikramaditya II or Chandragupta Vikramaditya. Very few copper coin in Gupta times shows rare use of coin by common people. Payan describes that cowrie shell were used by common people. Till 3rd century AD, India dominated trade with the Roman Empire. We have spice and stones, particularly pearls, from South India, and silk and cotton trade from North India. We have two type of trade with Romans. One is South trade with South India, then trade of Roman trade with North India. So after the rise of Calabars, that that is trade in spice and stone declined with Roman Empire, but silk trade continued till the 6th century AD. In the 6th century AD, Roman learned the art of growing silk from China. This led to the loss of artisans' job. So in post-Gupta time, artisans shifted from Gujarat to interior India and started practicing agriculture. From traders they become peasant or farmer, and it was like recession period or deindustrialization in post Gupta time period. In 6th century AD, we found horse trading with Persia, but that trading was dominated by Arab traders. Indian were less involved in that, so the trade declined in post-Gupta time period, and decline in trade practices led to the lack of inter-regional communication. People of Bengal and UP area uh, stopped communicating with Gujarat or Central India region. People of Gujarat and Central India region. So there was communication gap between different region, and this gave rise to the development of local language in post-Gupta time period. Society, uh, there was in Gupta time period there was rise of Bhagavatism. Vishnu was Vedic god, and we found Narayana and Bhagavata as tribal god, and Krishna is also tribal god of Vishnu tribe. So in Gupta time period, they merged the three god Vishnu, Narayana, and Krishna, and the scholar depicted them as a single god. They describe Krishna as the avatar of Lord Vishnu. So it gave rise to the Bhagavatism. Temple construction and ideal worship started in Gupta time period. We found Devgarh temple at Jhansi. In Gupta time period, caste system was rigid, very rigid. But the induction of foreigners and tribal people led to the start of sub-caste system. Earlier, we have only four castes: Brahman, Kshatri, Vaisya, and Sudra. But as more number of foreigners and tribal people inducted into um, Vedic caste system in Varna system, so we get a subcategorization of caste. Earlier, we have single Vaisya caste, but with induction of other foreigners, we found multiple Vaisya caste system, multiple Vaisya caste people. So we in the Gupta time period, the Kayast caste was mentioned for the first time, and the Kayast caste was employed in the maintenance of archives. Varhamihir prescribed house size according to Varna and economical status of people. Paiyan describes Chanda living outside the village and were flesh eaters. Condition of the slaves were poor. In modern time period, Arthas describes the condition of slaves and it was good, but in Gupta time period, the condition of slaves were poor. In Gupta time period, Sudra were allowed to listen and recitation of Ramayana, Mahabharata, and Puran, and Sudra were also allowed to worship Lord Krishna. Regarding status of women, yeah, the status of higher Varna women declined, but status of lower Varna women improved. Women of higher Varna were debarred from working, while women of lower Varna were allowed to work. So, women of higher Varna were dependent on their husband for living, but lower Varna women were independent. They can work and they can earn money. Also, higher Varna women were not allowed to remarry. Remarriage was not allowed in higher Varna, but women of lower Varna were allowed for levirate and yoga practice. Levirate is marrying younger brother of the dead husband. When when a woman become widow, she can marry the younger brother of her husband. And yoga is the practice of allowing woman for one-time sexual intercourse with someone for the purpose of offspring. And the born child will be considered as son of woman and his dead husband. So lower Varna women were allowed for levirate and yoga, but higher Varna women were not allowed. Widow remarriage were not allowed for higher Varna women. A daughter was not allowed to inherit land property, but were allowed to mortgage Stridhan. Stridhan was gift received by women on marriage and other occasions. So they were allowed to mortgage what belongs to them. Literature in Gupta time period. In Gupta time period, Puran, Ramayana, and Mahabharata compiled Narad Smriti, that is Law of Narad. In this book, in this through this book, Brahman claim privilege. Ni- Niti Sakar was written by Kamanda, Kamandaki. It is treatise on politics and statecraft, and it has lot of similarity with Arthashastra. Then Vatsayan wrote Kama Sutra, Vishnu Sarma wrote Panchtantra, Sudrak wrote Mrich Katka means clay cart. He Sudrak also wrote Vi- Vinay Vaswadatta and Bana. Subandhu wrote Vaswadatta Dandin used to live in the Kanchi region, and he served both Pallava and Western Ganga dynasty. He wrote Kavyadars Das Kumar Charit and Avanti Sundari. Science in the development of science in Gupta Empire. So the most important and striking feature of striking development of Gupta Empire in the field of science was Iron Pillar of Delhi. Because this shows the metallurgical development at that time. And if you visit Iron Pillar if you visit Qutub Minar complex, then you will find Iron Pillar there, and you will find it was there for more than thousand year ago, more than 1,000 years, but still it was in good condition, not too much rusted. There was no rusting in Iron Pillar at Delhi, so it was the it shows metallurgical advancement of Gupta metallurgical advancement of metallurgical advancement in Gupta time period. Then scholars in Gupta time period, Vagbhat wrote Ashtang Sangra. Ashtang Sangra is 8 branches of Ayurveda, and it is part of Brihat Trayi. Regarding god of Ayurveda, Dhanvantri is considered as the god of Ayurveda, and he is considered as the incarnation of Lord Vishnu. And Charak is considered as the father of Ayurveda. But in an objective question, if you find who is the father of Ayurveda, and if you find option Dhanvantri, then mark Dhanvantri. But if there is Dhanvantri is not in option, then mark on Charak. Ministry of Ayush started National Ayurvedic Day, celebration of National Ayurvedic Day, and it is also known as Dhanvantri Jayanti. And we celebrate it on every year on the occasion of Dhanteras, because Dhanteras was the birthday of King of Lord Dhanvantri, who was incarnation of Lord Vishnu. And it was first time it was celebrated in 2016 by Ministry of Ayush. Regarding mathematics, Arab learned about the notational notational system of number from India and called it Hind. Later, Western world learned it from Arab and called it Arabi. Uh, Aryabhatta. Aryabhatta was mathematician. He wrote Aryabhatiya and Surya Siddhant. In Surya Siddhant, he describes motion of planets. And but as per 11th century scholar Al-Biruni, it was written by Lata. The contribution of Aryabhatta in mathematics was innumerous. He mentioned in his book Aryabhatiya, he mentioned about zero and decimal system. China learned the decimal system from Buddhist missionaries, and Western world borrowed it from Arab. Uh, we find earliest use of zero in Arab in 873 AD, and in Europe region in post 873 AD. Aryabhatta worked on root and cube roots. Aryabhatta discussed the concept of sine function and described the method to calculate area of triangular, and this gave birth and this led to the origin of trigonometry. Aryabhatta calculated the circumference of Earth. He informed the world that Sun is stationary and Earth is revolving around it in elliptical orbit. Prior uh, Prior to his theory, people used to believe that Earth is stationary and Sun used to revolve around the Earth. But it was Aryabhatta who informed the world that Sun is stationary and Earth is revolving around it. Aryabhatta also listed out the reason for solar and lunar eclipse. He calculated the length of a sidereal year. Varhamihir was a scholar of astrology or astronomy. He wrote Panch Siddhant, Brihat Samhita and Brihat Jatka. He describes the moon revolves around the earth and earth revolves around the sun. He also observed season of the earth. Aryabhatta only describes earth around the earth revolves around the sun, but he did not describe motion of moon. So Varhamir describes that moon revolves around the earth. And although Varhamir was a scholar of astrology, but he listed the classification of plants and animal, and this led to the development of agriculture. Next scholar is Brahmagupta. Brahmagupta contributed to development of algebra and trigonometry. Uh, he he gave the method to solve linear equation and quadratic equation. He find out the sum of first n numbers, then sum of n square first n square of first n numbers, then cube sum of the cube of first n numbers, and he was the first to use zero and negative number in calculation. Aryabhatta describes zero in his book, but he did not use it in calculation. It was Brahmagupta who used zero in calculation for the first time. Brahmagupta also worked on fraction calculation, and he wrote a sine table for, in the field of trigonometry. Brahmagupta was the first to describe gravity as an attractive force. Prior to Brahmagupta, Aristotle described gravity based on weight or heaviness. It was Brahmagupta who described gravity as an attractive force, and later Newton gave the mathematical formula of gravity. He gave further description on gravity. The Brahmagupta used the term Gurtvakarsan in his writing. He used Gurutvakarsan Sanskrit term in his writing, and he was the first one to confirm that moon is closer to Earth than the sun, based on the shapes of moon. As the moon, as every day the shape of moon changes. Some day crescent shapes and some day full moon. So based on that, he described that moon is closer to Earth, not to sun. Earlier, people used to believe that moon was closer to sun. So Brahmagupta clarified that no, moon is closer to Earth. Here is the map of later Gupta rulers. In the map, you can see Gupta ruled roughly Magd area. Then UP area was dominated by Mokharis. Then in central India was dominated by Olikaras. Then and Gujarat, Saurashtra region was dominated by Matrakas and West, northwestern territory was dominated by Central Asia tribe Huns. Decline of Gupta Empire. The reason for decline of Gupta Empire is listed here. The first reason is weak Gupta ruler in later Gupta time, because of internal fighting and other issues. And the second reason is decline in trade, trade practices. Then third reason is multiple attacks of Huns of Central Asia, trichomes of Central Asia, and because of multiple attack, there was financial strains on Gupta Empire. Taxila University was destroyed by King Toramana. He was Hun ruler. He destroyed Taxila University in 5th century AD. Mihir Kula succeeded his father Toramana and ruled from the capital at Sagala or Sialkot in Pakistan. Yuan Sang described Mihir Kula as a cruel ruler. Gwalior inscription of Mihir Kula shows he ruled up to Gwalior. It describes the construction of Sun Temple at Gopa Hill at Gwalior by Matri Cheta during 15th regnal year of Mihir Kula. The temple did not survive today, but it was surprising that Mihir Kula, a Hun ruler who destroyed many Buddhist monasteries, had during his reign a temple of sun was constructed in Gwalior. The fourth reason was rise of feudal rulers. Mukha- Mukharis in UP, Matrakas in Saurashtra, local ruler in Bengal region, Olikara dynasty in Malwa region. The most important ruler of Olikara dynasty was Yasodharman. He ruled from 515 AD to 545 AD. Yasodharman, with the help of Narsimgupta, successfully fought against Mihir Kula of Hun dynasty. They defeated Mihir Kula at the Battle of Somdhani. After that, Yasodharman erected a victory pillar at Mandsaur. Gupta script. Uh, lot of inscription were issued by Gupta rulers, but and all these inscription are in Sanskrit language and Brahmi script, particularly later Brahmi script. But some historian call it as Gupta script. And with the decline of trade, the inter-regional communication declined. There was gap in communication between people of different regions, and this led to the development of regional language and regional script in post-Gupta time period. So we found three different scripts developed in three different regions in post-Gupta period. Sarda script developed in Kashmir region, Nagari script in central and western region, and Siddham script in Bengal and Assam region. Regarding Gupta script or later Brahmi script, you can see in the figure there was in the first row Brahmi script is shown, and in the second row in the first row, early Brahmi script in shown, and in the second row, later Brahmi script or Gupta script in shown is shown. So you will find that both are same, but there people during the Gupta time period tried to decorate, tried to write the alphabet more with more decoration. So you will find very small difference, but more or less early Brahmi script or and later Brahmi script are same, or Brahmi script or and Gupta script are same, almost same. But in post Gupta time period, three different script emerged from three different regions. So this is the end of lecture. Thank you.